Hey there, film fans. I'm Jeff.
I'm Dave.
And I'm John, and welcome back to The Love of Cinema, a pod in which we'll challenge one another to discuss movies, both new and old, with a strictly positive critical eye.
That's right. And to avoid lazy negativity, we've decided to make this episode a drinking game.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime we say anything negative at all about each other, about this movie, about how this movie shows a crime scene that looks a lot like what Dave remembers of his 10-year-old circumcision, you're going to hear the sound. That sound means we're taking a drink, and we hope you drink along with us.
And if anybody doesn't get that joke, just listen to the end of our last episode.
Oh my God, I was dying.
In the meantime, pour yourselves a glass as we go back to the days before Richard Gere walked with a limp.
Cheers.
Oh my God.
Did you guys think about the gerbil at all while watching this?
No.
That's right, people.
No, but since you... Today is my dad's birthday.
Wait, we're
since
talking
you
about...
already referenced the circumcision, that means that 60 years ago today,
my
father had a
God.
very, very sad look on his face while wearing Sultan attire. All right, continue.
Wait, your dad turned 70 or 71?
No, you're right. 72 today. He was born in 53. So,
That's,
Oh my
it counts.
God.
He was still sad
72.
2 years later.
Holy
Jesus
crap.
Christ. Guys, I was dying listening to that again. I
Yeah.
couldn't believe it. And you're like, somebody says Jeff looks stunned. I was like, yeah, because Dave just told us he remembers his circumcision. We lived together for 4 years, guys. 4 years, and that never came up.
Yeah, it's not something you start a conversation with a lot.
All right. Well, the people are here because they saw Primal Fear.
It's the last thing he thinks about before he closes his eyes at night.
It's not,
Guys,
it's
I'm
not
ready
my,
to move on.
It's not my getting to
ready
know
to
you
move
thing in a
on.
group. Like, hey, what's something special about yourself? Well, that'll empty
All
a
right.
fucking
Oh my
room.
God.
Well, I know I brought this up, but anyway, so that's on me. Fine. All right. We're here to talk about
Circus.
Primal Fear, people, because the random year generator spun 1996. That means that we chose a movie that we think best represents 1996, or just a movie we wanted to see. In this case, it's Primal Fear, which maybe is both for us. Rewatch for all of us, I think. Dave, had you seen this before?
Yeah.
Available to stream on Paramount Plus. If you want to check it out. If you're new to our show, we are a drinking show, as we mentioned. So we tend to drink a little bit before we talk about the movie. But check the show notes. Spotify, Apple, they have the chapters very clearly marked now. So you can go to the bottom and scoot ahead to Primal Fear if you want to hear us talk about that. And only that today. When you want to hear us talk about a movie which stars Richard Gere as an arrogant, wealthy, womanizing lawyer in Chicago with fame and magazine covers, doing pro bono work on a murder trial, defending a guilty client for the publicity. Wait, is this Primal Fear or 2002's Chicago, guys? I'm a little confused.
Well, Chicago he didn't do for free. You got to have $5,000.
What? I thought he did it pro bono.
No,
Damn it.
absolutely not.
Dave knows that
Huge.
musical too well. They both reached for the gun. Aaron and Roy, they both reached for the gun, huh? Come on. Anyway, we'll talk. All right, fine. Fuck you guys. We'll talk about it later. We're going to get drinking and we're going to get flowing and grooving. Dave is not drinking this year because he's taking care of his body, which is great, but he's going to donate all of his buzzes to charity. He's
Yep.
donating to the wildfires, even though it's been raining over there.
Every time that buzzer goes off, it's 50 cents for me to donate. And we're up to $49.50 at the moment.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I can't buzz you for nothing because that goes against our conceit. But
Are you kidding?
can't
People
wait.
fucking cheat all the time on this show.
What are you talking about?
I asked for that.
we got a couple sponsors though. So John, would you like to go ahead and shout our sponsors out?
Oh, yeah. Carlos Barroso makes beer. He gives it to us. Sometimes we drink it whenever we can. See Barroso.beer. Link is in the show notes. He's on Instagram. Like, love him. Follow the beer making. It's all really great. Carlos Barroso, thank you for the brews. We also have a music artist in residence. This man makes a lot of music. He talks about movies sometimes with us on the podcast. But when he makes music, he goes by the name Dasein. Dasein. That's Dasein. You can find the link to all the usual music platforms in our show notes, but feel free to just slide on over to whatever you listen to music on and type in Dasein and enjoy.
Yes. Hell yeah. Well, all right. Any mini reviews today? I didn't ask you in advance, fellas, because I was ready to be surprised. I know, Dave, you've been watching a lot of stuff. I'm assuming you rewatched Solo
I
for
did
the
not.
10th time.
No. There was no Solo
Hereditary.
this time. I almost watched that in the plane back from Miami, but I went for... oh, no, wait. I did watch Solo. Yeah, I watched Solo on the plane.
I thought you said so. Any mini reviews for either of you?
Yes.
Any new content you saw? Dave has one.
Nice.
John?
I have two.
No.
All right,
They saw
Dave,
some
the
shit.
segment is yours. Take it away.
All right. Well, first of all, of course, I saw Captain America: Brave New World,
Yeah.
and I have to say it's about as good as any film is when you get to the credits and it says it was written by 6 people.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Okay, I'll give you this, even though I think you said that tastefully, but I'll give you a little buzz.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I really wanted to love it, guys, but they swung and missed. They tried, I feel like all of those people that contributed to the writing, none of them talked to each other. They did it remotely or something. It was just there were threads that just didn't really connect. The leader, the villain, like the villain character, you barely see him in the film. You see his machinations, but you barely see him, and he turned out to be like they've changed him up a little from his comic book look, and I dig what they're doing, but it was kind of a waste of a villain. They kind of focused more on the Harrison Ford thing that they showed in the trailers.
Yeah,
and apparently
so he's not the villain. Oh, okay.
Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
No, he's not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He's the villain of the press junket.
Well, I'm trying to think.
Well,
I'm
yeah.
trying to think of Dave. How many times? Because I like to give you and that company some shit every now and then when it doesn't work out, and we can acknowledge that maybe there's too much happening. There's only one other time in my mind that I can remember you saying you really felt like it didn't really work and you didn't really enjoy it. I'm trying to remember what that movie was. Was it the Marvels?
No, it wasn't the Marvels. I dug the Marvels.
Iron
Yeah,
Man
you liked
2?
that one.
Yeah.
No,
Thor Dark
It
World.
was more recent than that.
Thor Dark World didn't work
Thor
for
Dark
me.
World you don't like.
No, it was something more
No.
recent. It was one of the last years. Anyway, doesn't matter.
I'm trying to remember what
So,
came out last year because
This is a diehard fan,
yeah.
acknowledging.
Well, here's the thing.
Just didn't work.
The action pieces are fantastic, but the problem is it's the worst thing the comic book movie could be. It's average. It's meh.
And of course, like the in a way, the lowest common denominator of positive criticism for those movies, because they're so consistently good at it, are the action scenes. So like it is totally, they got us by the throat in those first 10, 15 years, because the shit in between all the action was engaging.
Yeah.
was emotional and character driven. And anyway, I know you know that,
Yeah.
but I'm
No,
sorry. I wasn't really planning on seeing it, but if you had said it was good, I was going to go see it. Now I don't think I'm going to give it a shot.
Okay, my official review statement was it was so bad it bummed me out. Like I was upset. I went in there wanting to love this thing, and they did. You could see everyone giving it their all. The visual effects look spectacular. But
Anthony Mackie,
dude, how bad do you feel for Mackie? How bad do you guys feel for
he
Mackie?
cannot get a
he
win,
wants
man.
this.
Like who's writing for this guy? They just give him crap to work with.
Because the show was good. The Winter Falcon Soldier. Something.
I liked it, but nobody else did.
I didn't mind it.
Yeah.
I didn't mind it.
Yeah, that was okay.
Yeah, well,
Anyway.
tune into the internet, man. I saw that.
You didn't like it.
I didn't
What else
like
did you
it.
see?
Then I went and saw. Before that, I saw Companion.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I want to see
Because I said I
that.
was going to go and see that. Dude, is that
Yeah?
good? Yeah, it's
Oh, fun.
like it's
Cool.
it's literally it's like it's not as advertised. It's just a little indie film, but it is not what they put in the trailer.
All right, cool.
Yeah,
Nice.
I
Horror?
was literally but no, not really. It's more of a like thriller, dark, black comedy. Sort
All
of
right,
thing.
dude.
I like that. I'm into that.
But I
Drew
was
Hancock,
delightfully
director-writer.
surprised at least twice through the movie. At one point,
Nice.
I sat up in my chair and went, "Oh fuck!" like out loud in the theater, quietly, but yeah. It
I'm
was
glad you saw that in theater.
It was just so much fun. And
So this director, he's written a lot, but he hasn't directed a lot. So that's cool.
well, the best thing is like I can't say anymore because it'll ruin the surprises I got. But yeah, go and see it. Yeah.
All right.
I
like both
do have a
of them.
mini review, and that might be telling that I forgot about it. So,
Damn.
but I'll try to keep it relatively brief. But I saw what I think is one of the ready. I saw Nickel Boys, which I've been wanting to see.
Oh, right. Yeah.
One of the heavier and more important Oscar films of the year, if you will. And God, I wish I could say that I really, really enjoyed it, because it's obviously, anyone who has seen a trailer or anything, obviously it's very significant, emotional, important subject matter. Ramel Ross, I think he won the director's.
What's it about? I think I've barely heard of this.
It's based on a novel by Colson Whitehead, who wrote like Underground Railroad and some other really prominent. Sometimes he works with a lot more magical realism. This one, maybe the book has magical realism in it, but a lot about African American history and putting a contemporary slant on it somehow, whether that's through flashback or point of view or anything. So this novel is based on this book, Nickel Boys, by him. This film is based on that novel. And Ramel Ross. All right, I'm going to try to say this without giving anything away because it dictates the entire movie. There is a directorial choice that he makes in the way he tells this story in terms of cinematography that dictates your entire experience. And ultimately, it made it exclusively intellectual for me. And it kept me away from the characters and the performances in a lot of different ways. But it culminated in me not feeling like I was connected to the people that are in this story. And again, it's a very intense story. So it's a weird conflict that it kind of puts you in. I felt like it would have maybe worked better in short form for me. It's just a feature length of that approach. I kind of started wiggling around in my seat and getting kind of bored, to be honest with you, which was really a weird and uncomfortable feeling considering how intense and tragic the subject matter is about these young boys at a school for, it's not a military school, but it's like for, bad boys that get sent. So there's a white version of the school and a colored version of the school. And I use that term, with the way they would use it. So of course it was just in case. People who were non-white now, but I mean, that's what they share, just in case. Dear God, please don't take that out of context.
Yeah, no.
And of course it's awful watching these boys go through this. It kind of drifts between these two guys' experiences. And then it kind of is also flashing forward a little bit because they are now looking back on that experience as adults because they are unearthing graves from children who were killed at that fucking school, which shit like that really has happened. We have heard about these places in Canada. We've heard about these reform schools where you find children of color and immigrants and Native Americans, just little bodies that were buried in the back, and they're uncovering that shit. So anyway, guys, you hear me saying, super important. I wanted to go in there and love it, but he made a choice that made it so not entertaining that I could not connect. And I really hate saying that, but I can't recommend it. I can't recommend it. It's also not short. It's long.
2 hours.
So he really asks a lot of you. But clearly he's talented. There's some experimental elements that I thought were fucking awesome. They really were engaging. A lot of metaphor that was really powerful with some really great use of stock footage and experimental cinematography. But anyway, that's my mini review. I'm sorry to say I didn't like it.
No, it's okay. It has a 91 Metascore.
Yeah, guys, I want you to see it. I want people to see it just to make sure that her and I didn't just have a weird viewing experience. But
I'm expecting that. I'm expecting that with Companion as well. People that go and see it are going to have a different reaction to it. I did.
What you guys should flip a fucking coin. One of you should see it too. So I want to hear one other, one out of three. One out of three. Both of you don't have to watch it, but I feel like 2 out of 3 of us should see it just to see if I'm wrong or if 2 out of 3 Love Cinema podcast people agree.
I want a New York City snow day so I can have a day just to catch up on all the
There's no such thing as a snow day anymore.
Yeah, what the fuck happened? Everybody was so excited for these little snow things. I saw people prepping the salt. People were... Wait, this is actually my gripe. Go ahead.
All right, we're in the gripes section now. You snuck us into gripes. Good for you. Here we go.
So New York is so excited about snow when it says it's going to be 1 to 3 inches, which in the old days was what we called a dusting. That wasn't real snow. But they're starting to put the salt out in advance. That's how exciting we are. There's only one thing. Giant hail-sized pieces of salt on dry pavement makes every sidewalk the Home Alone floor when they go in Daniel Stern Falls, which, by the way, it really wouldn't have held him up that much. He definitely could have kidnapped that boy after slipping. Yeah. That would have caused some damage, but I think slipping on some things, he's like, oh, what an inconvenience. And then he go on. Anyway, this is a Family Guy sketch. But anyway, it's so annoying. So everywhere I'm going, there's salt everywhere. There's all this fucking salt. And then within a day, the snow's melted anyway, and it's bullshit, all right? And today was supposed to be like freezing and windy, and everybody's freaked out. And a plane actually went upside down in Toronto, so it was really bad. The wind was really, really, really bad. It went upside down on the tarmac. Nobody died.
Landed
but
on
it was
its roof.
really, you got to look at it. It was really fucking weird. It landed in Toronto. Anyway, what am I talking about? Oh, New York, chill out, all right? It doesn't snow anymore. And also, don't salt the ground before the snow. It's dumb. That's been great.
And it gets all your dog's feet dirty. Like, more dirty and salty and weird.
Well, actually, the worst one is when you happen to walk through. I can't remember what I was wearing. I think I was wearing my business pants. And they came through with the automatic thing that just drives down the sidewalk. And I got fucking...
one pair of business pants.
Yeah.
My business pants.
Peppered down my legs.
Oh, they go fast.
So I couldn't do business that day. It was just...
Although they kind of don't... Well,
it fucking stung.
They couldn't do business that day. Oh my God.
No, these are my business pants. What are you guys thinking?
I'm here to do business.
Guys, I only have one pair. You guys have anything you want to gripe about? But it's weird. It's weird. They put the salt down before it snows now. That's how excited we get for the snow. It's chill out, everybody. It's okay.
It's like they have some mechanism for predicting the weather, like an iPhone.
1 to 3 inches. 1 to 3 inches. And also, if it snows 3 inches on top of the salts, fucking help, people.
Do you know what happens if they don't put the salt down?
They have to put it after it snows. But yeah, what happens if they don't put it down?
You have to put it before it snows.
Why?
Because otherwise the snow starts to melt and it turns into ice in the fucking sidewalk.
Yeah, people always say that. We've been doing this for centuries.
Seriously,
you know what you do? You put the salt on the salt. Is the salt going to melt the ice?
That happened to me.
Kind of, but not really. You know what's going to be the best thing? Foot traffic. Foot traffic's the best thing for that snow. Damp it down, get that shit moving. That's the best thing we need.
No, I had that happen
on that street.
When I was walking to work one morning from our old place. And I was wearing my business shoes, and I went to walk down the sidewalk. I can't do it anymore. I went to walk down the sidewalk and fucking literally caught the ice, and I skated in my business shoes out to the center of the street. It was silent, except for the sound
of me
shitting my business
pants. Perfectly balanced and like.
I understand ice is bad, and supposedly salt melts all ice. Sure.
Stood there for a second, moved on.
All right. Any other gripes that you two have?
I don't know, you guys. I mean, all right. I know. I don't usually gripe about anything really because it's never funny. But
are we starting the timer for you?
We're living in heavy times. No, I just want to say this sentence, and I just want to put it out there.
It's one sentence.
Tweet that Trump said over the weekend, where he said. It's not illegal to break laws. You're not breaking laws if you're trying to save your country. I will advise, as a movie podcaster, I think everybody, you don't have to watch the whole movie. Watch Spencer Tracy's sentencing in the Nuremberg trials when he sentences the judge who is on trial and talks about the moment that they broke away from the courts and you allowed it is the moment that you became guilty and that the country
so he said
identity was better.
It's not breaking the law if you're saving your country. Is that what he said?
I have been waiting. Everybody who's been telling me, like, calm down. It's not going to be like, yeah, it's going to be bad, but I've been saying they will defy the courts, and I feel like we're just getting so close. So I'm sorry to make it a serious gripe.
We're already preparing for it.
He pretty much threw Luigi a perfect
defy
defense,
the courts, and that shit is it's what's happening in Israel for the past 3 years, basically now, and it's what happened in the fucking Germany and other places. It's so not funny. Anyway, that's why I don't gripe you guys, because it's not fucking funny to me.
It's not funny, but it's really happening, and people, it's really happening. It's really happening.
It's really fucking happening. We're all still. Do you guys get that sense? I'm griping about that a little bit. Why the fuck are people like being so cool with this shit?
Yeah.
That's just because we didn't start the griper before. No, there's so much I want to say.
No, don't take me to prison. I pushed the fuck you button.
What the fuck does it feel like that in New York too? Like so many people are being so
feel like that here?
Nonchalant.
We have a mayor who has a quid pro quo over him right now. So federal judges are resigning. They don't want to resign. They got pensions and things lined up, and they are literally resigning because they will not, because they know it's a quid pro quo. They will drop his charges if he does whatever the fuck the president says. Come on, people. It's so blatant. It's so obvious. So yes, we're all talking about it. President Elon Musk says that if the judges can just stop actions whenever they want, we don't have a democracy. I guess he doesn't know about the balancing of powers. Also, do you remember when Obama was supposedly from Africa and it was the end of the world, and now we have somebody who's actually from Africa running our country? Remember that?
Yeah.
That's really good.
If judges can just pause work from one of the other branches, then we don't have a democracy. Wait, isn't a democracy 3 pillars checking each other? Guys, we're living in, it would be a farce if it was funny. Most farces are at least funny sometimes. This is not funny.
Well, if my background,
I know we said that.
If my background changes, you'll know I've fucked off back to Australia.
Dave, I got some
Honestly,
Australian.
too.
There are a couple of those pieces of Australia happened in 1996 that I'm going to get to here in a second in our segment. Do you guys want to move on?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
No, it's okay. We got to say it. We cannot say it. We can't just keep pretending like, anyway. Okay.
God.
How often do we get this far through the show and we're 4, 4, and 4 for buzzers? Like even count. Oh, fuck you.
I knew that was a fuck you, Dave. There.
Okay. All right, you cunts. You ready to talk about the film year 1996?
You just sound like a 5-year-old who's just learned the word whenever you do that. You're not using it properly.
Shit, my cat is.
It's missing the vigor and the casual nature behind it, right? Brits and Australians own that fucking word.
Yep.
We all sound very uncomfortable when we use it, don't we?
All right. Well, I'm going to do this while my cat is being as needy as possible in the best way. You got to watch YouTube and you can see my cat. You ready?
Yeah, I was going to say, pull your cat up. Yeah. There she is.
Hey, Ari, say hi.
Hey.
Say hi. Can you say hi? Oh, you're so needy, yeah.
Yep.
You're so needy. Meow, meow.
You know,
It was like somewhere between a
Okay.
pur and a pigeon.
Yeah.
All right.
If you stop putting that stuff on your balls, she'll leave you alone.
All right, so friends, whatever. We like to start with the box office, as you know, so let's do it. I got it logged up right here. 1996. Let's go with number one. Let's have some guesses. What do you think was the number one film at the box office, in the worldwide box office? 1996.
The First Wives Club.
You beat me. I was reaching for that fucking button.
Dave or John's Roy? I would really love John's Roy to step in here.
I know what it is for
or
sure
John's
because I thought
Dave?
remember I talked about it last week.
Yeah? Any guess? Dave, I'll give you a hint. John was begging us to do it again. And I
Yeah,
say
remember?
again. He was like, please, can we just do it
Hang on,
again?
let me look up Scorsese films.
Okay.
Welcome to Earth.
It was Independence Day, all right? It was Independence
damn
Day.
it.
John, you get the gush.
So good.
Independence
It's so
Day
good.
made $817 million worldwide in 1996, which
Not bad for 96.
adjusted for inflation and 2024 prices would have been $1.3 billion. And it was Will Smith's highest grossing movie until fucking
Until he
Aladdin.
gave the alien treatment to...
And so, I think 2019. Oh yeah, and he dodged a bullet on Independence Day too. But they owned his likeness for all the movies he did. So they definitely had a portrait of him that his son looked at, and it's like, that's my dad. Oh my god!
You guys remember, right? You guys remember, right?
Number two.
You guys saw that together, right?
That recently popped up on streaming, and I was like, I pulled our old segment, like, was it really that bad? But I couldn't bring myself to hit play.
No, it's some things are too bad to watch and talk about.
Thousands of people worked on that movie.
So many people worked on that movie.
And they did a great job.
The Hive Theory. It's the fucking worst use of the Hive Theory ever. Oh my god! You just have to kill. You think they're like bees. You had to kill the mother alien.
Yeah, they like bugs.
And then all the other ones die. Like it's fucking Sauron.
Yeah, didn't Starship Troopers do that?
Oh, it was awful. Oh, it was awful.
Yeah.
Dave, it was awful. Oh my god!
I don't remember
so many
it. I've seen it, but I don't remember a thing about it.
There were so many space stations because we colonized
the moon. Yeah, I forgot there's a space station on the moon. I forgot.
Oh my god! Anyway, number two is Twister. $495 million.
Number two.
Let's
God
go.
damn.
Warner Bros. Universal. Number three is Mission Impossible, which would do very well in our franchise face-off. The Mission Impossible franchises. Can't wait to see. I think the final installment this summer.
Yeah,
maybe
that's
the final
one.
installment where we're going to a submarine in the Arctic. He's like, what stunt haven't I done? What stunt haven't I done? I haven't gone into the Arctic Ocean.
Weren't they supposed to be shooting?
You think that's real?
Weren't they supposed to be shooting something in space?
But that's where they say it is, right? Didn't they say that's where the fucking thing is? Where the mind of that AI or whatever is?
Yeah, but I don't think that scene is actually shot in that ocean. That beautiful image of him like holding in the ball, and she comes and kisses him in the trailer.
I don't know. All right, coming up next, we have The Rock.
Let me guess. Ah, damn it.
Fucking fourth place. Welcome to The Rock. Hunchback of Notre Dame comes in at $325 million. And to round out the rest of the top 10, John, you want to have one more guess of something you think you'd be? Actually, Scream is not in the top 10, but really good. It did do well this year. No, it's 101 Dalmatians. I think that's Glenn Close, right? Ransom, The Nutty Professor, $273 million, just nudging out Jerry Maguire. And then coming in at 10th place is Space Jam. Yes, that's exactly right. Other major releases, John, you mentioned Scream. You got Fargo, Trainspotting, The English Patient, which would win 9 Oscars. More on that in a second. Mars Attacks, and the film version of Evita. A couple other pieces of film trivia here. We got Rumble in the Bronx was released in North America, becoming Jackie Chan's first major box office hit in the region, with U.S. box office numbers alone earning 20 times the film's original budget. It was his biggest.
You guys remember when he jumps from the roof to that balcony? You guys remember that shot? It's just fucking crazy, baby.
I'm pretty sure The Matrix said, let's do this, but it's in The Matrix, so it's okay, as opposed to Jackie Chan did his own stunts. A big piece of news that came up about the 1996 film year is producing and marketing costs rose to an average of $60 million per movie, which is a 20% increase from the previous year.
This is about when you have to make double your budget back or your film flopped started.
Basically, the average cost, yeah. So contributing factors, they put on high salaried stars such as Sylvester Stallone, Tom Cruise, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Mel Gibson, Jim Carrey, Harrison Ford, Michael Douglas, Sharon Stone, Julia Roberts, and Demi Moore. That would become the subject of industry scrutiny for many, many, many years due to a lot of high-profile flops between 1995 and 1996. This resulted, now here's the real rub, this resulted in studios having to cut their film slate by 50% to offset growing production marketing costs to ensure more profits. So tell me we're not living in a similar time post-strike, right?
Well, they haven't cut them. They just took them out of the country.
Dude,
I think they cut them and took them out of the country. A couple other things. The Island of Dr. Moreau came out. I don't know what Marlon Brando was doing, but it was out there.
That movie's crazy.
Nickelodeon got into movies. No, but it comes up a lot. I want to see David Thewlis and like all the other like co-stars. Just be like,
I haven't seen it, but I played Fast.
The making of it is insane.
And then
awful.
Yeah, Scream is released December 20th.
Merry Christmas,
really funny
everybody.
That's not a Halloween movie, right? Yeah, exactly. I said The English Patient won 9 awards at the Oscars. I will say there were a lot of other movies that did well at like the Golden Globes and the BAFTA. So now it sucks that like one movie wins every award, but it's cool that like Fargo,
that's not happening this
Larry
year.
Flint. I don't know. Maybe not. We don't know yet.
The field is up for grabs, according to the media today.
Right. Even The Crucible got some love at the Oscars. I think the best story for this is that Frances McDormand would win Best Leading Actress for Fargo, and Jeffrey Rush would win for Shine. Their combined screen time was 57 minutes. So each of those would definitely be supporting characters, to supporting roles to try to win Oscars, but they were both leads, and they had less screen time.
Yeah, wait.
Some people
was Fargo was released this year as well, right?
96, yeah.
So she did 2 movies.
And then Shine. Yeah. Cuba Gooding Jr. would win the Oscar for Jerry Maguire, and a lot of people were really happy about that. He also won the Screen Actors Guild Award, although Edward Norton from our movie would win the Golden Globe, which was pretty great because he was essentially a nobody.
Yeah,
until
first movie
came out. And Paul Scofield for The Crucible would win the BAFTA, and where is it? Juliette Binoche would win the Oscar for The English Patient, but she had some competition with Joan Allen for The Crucible and Lauren Bacall for The Mirror Has Two Faces. And screenplay this year at the Oscars would go to Joel and Ethan Coen for Fargo. All the more reason that Paul Thomas Anderson should have won just one for There Will Be Blood instead of No Country for Old Men winning everything. Come on. I think he should have won directing and then given whatever. Sling Blade, though, won Best Adapted Screenplay for Billy Bob Thornton.
I'll remember him.
Just stare at the wall. I'm just sit here and stare at the wall.
I love them French fried potatoes.
No, you don't, Oprah. Yeah, it's 30 Rock. Dave, I see you look for the buzzer. I see it.
Yeah.
No, you don't, Oprah.
I did this. I did a rapid fire of the 90s comedies that came out in 1996, but there were so many comedies that came out in 1996. I'll just say Black Sheep, Happy Gilmore, Muppet Treasure Island, Biodome, Bottle Rocket. But listen to my rant. Oh, The Birdcage, if you want to count. Yeah. Listen to my rant. There are so many comedies that came out this year. I think we talked about The Cable Guy and was really that bad back in the day. Anything else you guys want to call out?
No, I'm happy you called out Black Sheep because that was a good one.
Oh.
Black Sheep, yeah. I'll call out.
How did it get that gun?
It was funny. I'll call out Sleepers. I wanted to bring a little attention to that. Kingpin, which I think is one of two great bowling movies. That Thing You Do is fun. I think I mentioned The Long Kiss Goodnight last time. Swingers, I feel like we should probably mention just because that ended up making some careers happen. Honestly, that changed Hollywood in a big way. If Jon Favreau had not written that movie, gotten it made, and became a recognizable face, there might not be a Marvel franchise today. I mean, he launched that entire thing with Iron Man, right? I mean,
perhaps
it started with them. Down Periscope.
And it's really, really funny. Like that, my favorite character he's ever played is Gunner from PCU.
Never seen that.
He's in. Oh, dude, if you can find it, I think it's one of those ones that they're sitting on, in case Harvey needs money for bail or something.
Yeah.
He might get out. Remember that?
But it's about a kid going to university, and it's the most politically correct university on earth, and they just take the piss out of the whole thing, and he ends up pissing off the entire university to the point where like they're chasing him across the field at one point, like the entire university. But Jon Favreau is a stoner character in that.
Beautiful Girls. The Frighteners, we should call that up. Peter Jackson.
Yep.
Again, that was another big stepping stone, to getting his next big movies made, which we're all very familiar with. I was making fun of The First Wife Close, but that movie's fun. I always think John Patrick Shanley wrote and directed that, but he did not. Executive Decision, if anybody likes the trio of those. What are those called?
Get off my plane.
No. It's Krasinski's series now. Come on,
Jack Ryan.
It's one of the Jack Ryan trilogy
Krasinski
movies.
has left the series.
Okay. James and the Giant Peach, Broken Arrow. Snake Plissken comes back for the sequel for Escape from L.A. That's fucking awesome.
He gets around.
Yeah, he does. And then I also just wanted to bring it to you said The Crucible. Big Night, Stanley Tucci with God, what's his name? Who plays Monk? What's his name?
Tony
Mrs.
Shalhoub.
Maisel. Tony Shalhoub and Stanley Tucci. Big Night about restaurants. Fucking awesome. And
a lot of movies.
John Sayles' Lone Star. Definitely wanted to draw a little attention to that as well. And then how about a movie that nobody remembers maybe, and nobody certainly remembers that fucking Coppola directed it. Do you guys know what I'm about to say? Starred Robin Williams. Who thinks he's a young boy? Jack.
Yeah, Jack.
You remember that?
Hell yeah. Wait, Coppola directed that?
Weird.
Was that Jennifer
Nobody
Lopez?
fucking saw or remember that. And I don't think you mentioned it, but I'm sure you did, and I just didn't hear it. But Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet came out this year. And
previous episode of ours, yeah. That might have been the same one with Cable Guy.
God, that movie is good, dude. That movie is awesome.
I love High School
One of the
High
first
too.
movies I remember, like as a kid, being like really anticipating seeing that movie. So I was like 9, going on 10, and I was like, I can't wait for that movie to come out this year, and it held up. All right, that's it.
A lot
Let's
of
go.
movies. I can't believe you didn't mention "Don't Be a Menace to South Central" while drinking your juice in the hood. Our Irish fans,
for me.
Our Irish friends love Michael Collins too. Okay, cool. And From Dusk Till Dawn, the other Tarantino, fucking million other people movie.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. The Arrival with
twist
Charlie
in
Sheen
that
was
one,
also on TV.
I guarantee you'll never pick it.
Oh, People versus Larry Flint. You ever seen that one? Yeah, it's good. Don't belittle it. I'm asking you a question. And that's it. That's all I got.
What else? Yeah, let's move on. So a couple world events things here. I always say fuck, I'm going to skip the world events, and then I look and they're so fun. Most important thing, this goes all the way back to Christmas. So right after Scream came out. Who do you think killed John Benet Ramsey, guys?
Definitely her mother accidentally killed her.
You think it was a mother accidental? You think not father? But you think it was somebody?
One of them,
brother?
but I think one of them accidentally killed her, and then they tried to cover it up.
You think the brother accidentally killed her, and then maybe the family tried to cover it up? It is possible.
I just heard a crazy story that I should share off air about a firsthand account from somebody who knows the detective on the case, and they spoke to like a medium, and the medium it was a fucking nutso story, and anyway, I'll tell you guys off air. I don't want to fucking.
I was going to say, are we trying to go viral here?
Not at all.
Make the news.
The intruder theory, though. The intruder theory is very curious. But I'm also the kind
There's
of
a
person
lot of
that loves.
curious shit.
I also love the owl theory in the staircase, though. So that's me. I think the owl did it.
What, the one-armed man took her?
No, I think the owl killed the. Or I really do. Okay.
Took her down the stairs and scratched her.
What, the owl?
I think the owl was
have you not
attacking.
heard that?
The scratches on her head. It did not break.
Oh my God!
Have you ever seen Staircase?
That's this country's Dingo's Got My Baby, right there.
Literally. Dingo got your baby. Yeah,
She
mate.
had scratches all over her scalp, but her scalp didn't break. What blunt force trauma would have cracked her scalp, and it didn't crack. And she was bleeding everywhere from all these scratches in her hair. I'm telling you, the owl theory makes more sense than a fucking blowpoke. Okay.
Blowpoke. Dave, say that. Say blowpoke.
Blowpoke.
With a really rich Western Australian accent.
Are you giving him direction?
I don't go to Western Australia.
And Perth with all the surfers.
Okay. Yeah, Heath Ledger was there. Why didn't you go see him? He was cool.
Okay. Yeah. The Macarena began its reign atop the U.S. pop charts here in 1996. Tell me you don't remember that. It would spend more than 60 weeks.
I saw some guys on stage at the comedy show I used to do.
It's fucking news.
They used to put the stage DJ up the back, and these guys knew an alternate version of the Macarena that was all about like drinking this and drinking that and everything, and then ended up with them throwing up. But they didn't really. It was all actions, but it was alternate moves to the Macarena. I remember seeing.
I will give one of or both of you $1,000 if you can recite the verse to Macarena word for word.
Word for word. No, it would just sound offensive, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on.
Actually, the verse is in English. So.
Well,
that's
definitely not.
Sure, yeah.
All right, go ahead, Dave. Give it a shot. Okay. GM announces its electric car. Yeah, how did that go? That was 30 years ago.
Wow. Oh my
30
God.
years later,
really
no way we're
away.
burning expensive gas and oil anymore, right? The EV1. Really
That's
original name.
Really went
cool
with they let the computer name that one, didn't they?
GM announced an electric car. Are you fucking kidding me? In 1996, GM, are you fucking kidding me?
96.
Instead, you let Tesla sell their rights to some platinum entrepreneur who pretended to found this company. Fuck everybody. Anyway.
Careful, you'll get us banned on YouTube.
He didn't found Tesla. I hate when people say that. He had this idea. He had this dream. No, he didn't. He had a dream. My father's rich. How can I be rich too? Fuck everybody. He did not fucking found Tesla. So stupid.
He just wants people to love him.
He doesn't give a fuck about the planet being green,
or
obviously. Obviously, he doesn't care about the planet being green. Okay. He wants to go to Mars. Mars would be a fucking terrible place to live.
No, he should go.
Fucking awful.
He should go right now.
He should
Let's let him go. Yeah.
MLB owners. MLB owners approve
the end credit scene from Don't Look Up on Mars by himself.
Honestly,
yeah,
dude.
except I don't know about the water. I don't know about that tidal wave, but some other thing would happen for sure. Oh, you're talking about the Mark
creature.
Rylance where they've and they definitely got raped by that creature.
Yeah.
Okay,
that's fine.
MLB owners approve interleague play. I didn't know that before 1996, the National League and the American League just like never played each other ever. But starting in 1997,
and there were still like 130 games per season. How did they manage to do that?
I don't know.
Ridiculous thing.
I don't know. Maybe they just didn't feel like traveling. Blizzard of 96 begins. In January of 1996, snow begins to fall in Washington, D.C. and up the eastern seaboard, and it killed 154 people. So, oops. That's back to my shit about the salt before. Yasser Arafat became the leader of Palestine, and Benjamin Netanyahu became the prime minister of Israel. And that worked out really well for both of them, I think. Yeah, the world's a better place for that, that's for sure.
Wow, it was Netanyahu at that initial Clinton peace accord with Israel and Palestine? Because it was definitely Arafat. I don't think I realized it was Netanyahu.
I guess so.
Wow.
I thought it wasn't either, but yeah, it had to have been. It had to have been. That was right after he was sworn in.
Yeah, maybe that was.
Was that 97?
I'll look it up.
Was that 97? Oh, yeah,
I really can't remember.
That was 97. World chess champion Garry Kasparov loses game to computer after 3 hours. 3 exciting, thrilling hours, I'm sure. But then he beat a different computer, or he beat the same computer in a different game later. I don't know. Apparently he played 6 games. So the headline was going to be he won and he lost.
Yeah.
Like almost
First
definitely.
move, pull the plug out. Right. Who's winning now, motherfucker?
Yeah. What do you got? The Unabomber was arrested here in 1996. That happened here. Dave, here you go. Australia's Port Arthur massacre.
Yep.
35 people killed by a 28-year-old gunman. And you know what you guys did? You banned assault weapons and no mass arrests.
Just like that. Best thing I've ever done.
That simple.
Yeah.
But it's not. Yeah, it's not the guns. Fucking people. God,
and you know when our next mass shooting was?
And this is
25 years later.
And this is the country that made Mad Max. Like, you can still have an affinity and understanding of like the extremities and how awesome that shit would be in some false reality. But in the real world, they just fucking kill people.
Well, that's all they fucking do. This is also a country that, like, when someone has an accident on the road and it kills them, and then a second person has an accident and it kills them, they change the road. Because there's obviously a problem with the road. If two people have died on that corner or that curve or whatever, they change the fucking road. So
in my town, if somebody's walking their dog in the morning and gets hit by a car, they make the speed limit 25 miles an hour.
Yeah, they're not using accidental death as a population control method.
So I look both ways when I cross the street when I'm walking my dog, but no, it's definitely the speed limit's fault.
The Clinton peace accord was in 2000, and it was between Ehud Barak and Yasser Arafat. So Bibi, I think, was already out of there.
2000?
I thought it was so much earlier than that.
Get the fuck out of here. There's no way. We did this. This is why we do this.
They've had fucking 6 of them, probably.
Guys, the Oslo Accords. Guys, the Oslo Accords were in 1993. And the second Oslo Accords were in 1995. They just broke them. They did them, and then they broke. And then they did them, and then they broke. Yeah. So he was the head of the PLO, but maybe he was not the official
they almost broke one
leader
last
of
week.
Palestine. Anyway, whatever.
Sorry, I'm just reading now. Keep going. What else happened?
Eight climbers die on Mount Everest during a storm on May 10th, 1996. And apparently it was the deadliest day ever at Mount Everest because people shouldn't be up there.
Yeah, they're still up there, too.
Dolly the sheep becomes the first successfully cloned mammal. Dolly the sheep.
Oh, wow, I remember
that. Yeah.
I remember that shit.
The TWA Flight 800 explodes midair shortly after takeoff from New York's Kennedy International Airport. A TWA Boeing 747 jetliner bound for Paris explodes over the Atlantic Ocean, killing all 230 people aboard. Probably shouldn't have led with the plane upside down thing before, but yep, 1996. Big old disaster.
Yep.
Carl Lewis wins 4th consecutive long jump at the age of 35. How is he winning a long jump at 35? My back hurts just reading that.
I just want to go back to that. Like, that was an isolated incident, but we've had a lot of plane fuckery lately. Do you think prices are going to drop? Because people are just going to be like, fuck that, I'm renting a car?
No. No, I don't think
Unfortunately, I think the opposite will happen.
Yeah. They'll go up, we're making it safer, so you got to pay more. Oh, fucking people.
Yeah.
They're too tuned into the news, these bastards. Hey, George R.R. Martin's Game of Thrones book debuts.
What's that?
That debuted in 96?
Yeah.
So he's about due for the second one?
Michael Johnson won 3 gold medals at the Atlanta Olympics, including setting world records in 200 and 400. We fucking love it. People forget. I know Usain Bolt's great, but Michael Johnson's the fucking best, guys. Almost done with this.
It's so awesome.
Researchers claim to have found signs of Martian life in Antarctic meteorite. On August 1996, they announced they had found signs of Martian life in a meteorite discovered 12 years earlier in Allen Hills, Antarctica. There was a Dan Brown book that I read that predates the Da Vinci Code.
Isn't that literally? Yeah, I was going to say,
it's a pretty good book, honestly. It's pretty fun. It's a pretty fun book.
That what you just said is the premise to The Thing and the Man Who Fell from Earth, right? No, not the Bowie or what's the one with Keanu Reeves? Where he literally is another, like, there's something in the ice.
Oh, isn't that a remake of Day the Earth Stood Still?
The Day the Earth Stood Still, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a remake, yeah.
All right, almost done. Charles and Diana divorce. Diana's famous car crash is 97. Tupac Shakur is shot and then later dies in Vegas. He died a couple days later. That's tough. That's tough. A couple days, people thought he'd probably live. That was in Vegas.
Yeah, the Diana thing, I can describe the intersection I was sitting at when that news came on the radio.
That she died?
Yeah.
Bro, that is one of those that Kennedy was shot kind of moments. Yeah. But that was in 1997. This is just when they were divorced.
I was in Adelaide and I was at the intersection of Hindley Street and what the fuck is the other road? But yeah, it's basically the bottom end of Hindley Street. Heading into work.
Say Hindley?
Hindley. Yeah, it's the party street. Or it used to be. Get stabbed there.
Well, Maybe you wouldn't be
knife.
stabbed if you were at home reading out of Oprah's book club, which launched in 1996. Became very popular and famous. 2 more done. This is a headline I saw. High school sweethearts murder their newborn child. That was a headline that popped up. And last but not least, high-profile expert on exotic birds is sentenced for smuggling parrots. 96.
That ornithologist is going to fucking jail, bitch.
Yeah.
Who did he think he was?
Where did he
A lot of
stuff it?
bombings, too.
So you're totally right.
Is that where budgie
The
smugglers
Clinton
came from?
administration and the Arab-Israeli peace process took place between 1993 and 1996, initially brokered in 1993. But
Yeah, I don't
it
know.
was
Let's see
not.
those ones.
It was Yitzhak Rabin,
What's up with my-
who I think was the prime minister before Bibi.
Yes,
in
it was
19
not Bibi.
in
Yeah,
the
that's
early
right.
90s.
I saw Oslo. I saw the play.
Yeah.
And the,
Remember
and
I told you-
the
What did I just
movie.
watch? And I told you it's worth watching, and it was written by the guy who wrote that play.
For the
did I
Holocaust
just watch,
class
you
that
guys?
I'm watching movies for?
What the fuck was I watching? I was telling you guys should watch it. It's a series. And it's, Tokyo Vice. The whole thing is fucking show run by that playwright. It's totally worth watching. You guys still haven't watched it. Fuck you guys. One movie I forgot to call out because I think it's important for cinema history. Paul Thomas Anderson's first feature film came out this year in 1996.
Hard Eight, not his title.
It was not finished this year, but after a bunch of bad negotiations of finally getting it released and getting it away from the company that produced it, and then he took it from them and submitted to Cannes, and blah, 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 blah. It finally came out this year, which is misleading because when you look at his canon, it looks like he made Boogie Nights 1 year after his first movie got made. That's not actually what happened.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's still a big fucking deal.
There's actually a
Hard Eight.
24-year-old who directed a major motion picture for his studio.
It's insane.
You guys
It's
ready to
still
talk
good. I
about
watched
Primal
it a few
Fear?
weeks ago.
You ready to talk about Primal
Yeah.
Fear?
Yeah, let's do it.
1996, Primal Fear. I'm very excited to talk about this. I think this is such a 90s movie. You know this. My favorite movie of all time is a 90s courtroom comedic dramatic comedy. My Cousin Vinny. I love it. Fuck everybody if you don't. It's so fun.
Yeah.
This is obviously not as funny. This is more dramatic, but these 90s just star-studded, premise-driven courtroom dramas or spy or any aspect, like anything, the government or law related, police related. It's just, there's so many good ones in the 90s. And I feel like this is a quintessential
I
one.
can't
So I'm
remember, was
glad
it
we chose
80s or 90s LA Law came out?
I think it was actually the 80s, yeah. But I think it ran into the 90s, right?
Probably.
It's 86 through 87, LA Law.
That's it?
Wow. That had a far bigger impression on my life than 2 years. The 2 years.
No, I lied to you. Hold on, wait. LA Law ran from 86 to 94.
That's what I was gonna say. I feel like I forget what his name is. Who's nice.
That's better.
Look at YouTube, people.
8 years.
We have a YouTube. Check out the YouTube to see my cat and to see John count with his fingers.
I couldn't count earlier.
Whoever the lead is of that,
remember
whoever the lead is of LA Law won so many Emmys for that. So that's how I knew. I was like, it has to be more. He won like 4 Emmys for that.
Jimmy Smith or Corbin Burnson?
Probably Jimmy Smith is a supporting actor.
Jeff, you're thinking of NYPD Blue.
No, shut the fuck up. They all win Emmys.
No, you're thinking of NYPD Blue with what's his name, who played the first like good anti-hero cop, the guy with the mustache. You know what I'm talking about?
You may be right, but I may be right also.
It's what the fuck is that guy's name? Dennis Franz. That's who you're thinking of, right? That guy's like famously like the first really, really bad cop that was like the lead of a cop show. He's like a bad man anti-hero. So much fun to watch.
Would like to punch you both in the face.
Sure.
You're right. You are right. You're right.
Not that LA Law is not a good show. It is a good show.
Anyway, we're talking about Primal Fear, people. That's what we're doing here. John, are you going to tell the Edward Norton story or what? Not yet, but soon.
No, yeah, I'll tell it. I'll tell it one day.
No, I mean, you could tell in the episode, but just not in this. You want to tell it in the episode?
Should I bury the lead like I did last episode and tell it like really late? Like really late?
Yeah, make him wait.
Do you want me to tell it now? No, let's go around the horn. And
let's get into it. We got some good Edward Norton stories, people. John and I worked with an acting teacher. I actually technically worked with 2, but John worked very closely with an acting teacher who was working with Edward Norton in the city and basically helped him prepare a little bit for this audition, or certainly was in the discussion when he was auditioning for this movie. So good story coming up here for you. All right. This movie is directed by Gregory Hoblit. written by William Diehl, Steve Shagan, and Ann Biderman. Is it based on a book? Is one of those the book writer? It doesn't matter. I'm on IMDb. I did my research. It has a 47 Metascore, but really high Rotten Tomatoes and a pretty high audience score. So this movie's right down our alley. Why is it the critics basically gave it a positive review, but in their positive review also said negative things to lower that Metascore? Very interesting.
So
Nominated
weird.
for one Oscar, which of course would be Edward Norton for his supporting performance here. Primal Fear on Paramount Plus.
Imagine coming out of the gate like that. Like,
I'm going to read
first feature film role.
I'm going to read the
We're going to talk a
description.
lot about that for sure.
I'm going to read the description and then we're going to pass it off. You ready? The description is about 8 words long. A high-profile murder intrigues a publicity-hungry lawyer.
What the fuck?
That blurb does not
That's
do
a
this film
terrible-
justice.
Yeah, no, it's awful.
IMDb.
It's an awful. Weird.
I have a slightly longer one here. Oh, I don't want to read the storyline. Tagline: Sooner or later, a man who wears 2 faces, forget which one. Fuck, I don't even want to finish that. Shut up. Whatever. Fuck everybody. It's a courtroom drama starring Richard Gere as a cocky lawyer who's trying to defend Edward Norton. Come on. And Laura Linney's in it, and she barely did anything because she was so choosy. Come on. You got Fraser's dad. You got Andre Braugher. Alfre Woodard as the judge is like an all-timer judge. He's so good as the judge. Francis McDormand as the psychological examiner. Terry O'Quinn before Lost when his hair was color and he had hair and it was brown. Come on. Okay. So let's go around the horn. We've all seen this before. What'd you think?
Yeah.
What'd you think on the rewatch?
I think
David?
it's fun on the rewatch, watching the little business that Edward Norton gives himself. Like, you can see him doing things with his hands and stuff like that his character would do, and that makes it an interesting rewatch from a performance perspective. But the only thing I'd use to describe this is gripping, because you like you push play and it's got you for fucking however long it is. I don't know. I didn't even look at my phone or anything. I have no idea. But yeah, it grabs you, and story is the big thing here. That's my favorite thing. If the story grabs me, I'm in. You can make all sorts of stupid other mistakes, long as your story holds up. Yeah. That's about it. That's all I had to say about that.
John, what are you laughing at? He just he
Quite
said his
literally,
thoughts.
he really left me hanging there. The ellipses, I was choking on it. What's the end of that sentence? All right, ready?
Yeah, take a swig of
This
that. before
movie, you put it in that 90s context, which I think is so appropriate. I could not help but this time very specifically. This is probably the 3rd time I've seen it, but it's been years since I've seen it. I loved it. Great rewatch. All positive things, but very specifically, I am now starting to watch movies from certainly the 90s, but any time in that space where there was still a lot of attention on movies because they made money at the box office. Like, there was still a really strong industry around it. So you can say that's the mid 2000s, you can say whatever, but certainly in the 90s, it was really in that heyday. This movie, this rewatch made me feel very similar to the way I watch classic Hollywood movies, in the sense that this movie was not highly anticipated as an auteur's, like, important, significant movie, right, for that year. It was a genre movie. It's something that kind of, you name it, Law or Police, or, those staple franchise kind of familiar things that they make a lot of their money-making movies out of, the studios did back then. It's in a very similar way that the old Hollywood pictures were made in line with the brand of the studio that they were made by. So what I'm saying is that this movie watches like a very cookie cutter, in a sense, kind of material. But when you have really excellent performances, and I think the story is exceptional, I think it does stand out. Kind of like what I was saying about Seven, like, oh my gosh, just a detective movie, but it really pops. So the story, of course, is above par. It's really engaging, but it's directed extremely well and very competently. There's nothing crazy that you're going to be thinking about the direction or anything, but the performances and the casting are so fucking good that it turns what the movie industry used to do regularly it's unavoidable when you watch it. It took something that is predictable in the sense that we're going to watch a big courtroom movie and we're going to see people talking about these kinds of issues. And it elevates it to something that I think we're going to look back on the more we move away from the 90s. And we're going to look at movies like this and we're going to say, we're going to herald them as the way we talk about some of the best movies that came out of the Hollywood system when people just thought that those were just fucking Hollywood movies, that they just churned them out. There's art there. There's something more than just a genre piece there. And every time I watch this movie, I feel stronger and stronger about that very specifically. And this time it was just kind of, I couldn't think about anything else. Like, this is so similar to so many of those Grisham films that came out in the 90s. Those great courtroom, or somebody's doing some kind of detective work. It's either a police officer or it's a lawyer. It's usually a lawyer. But there was something that transcended it. It transcends the genre. And when you have enough time away from that, and when maybe you're not cynical or jaded, as we may have been in 1996, when we were like, oh my God, it's just another courtroom movie. It's just another fucking Grisham style kind of thing. They're just doing that kind of impersonation. It's more than that. And the more time I have away from it, the more and more I appreciate it.
I have to agree with both of you. I mean, well, first things first, Gregory Hoblit, the director of this film, has 9 Emmys. 2 of them are for LA Law, which we had mentioned, and one of them is for NYPD Blue, which we also mentioned. So heavily involved in those. So I think I was even more on brand, even though I was off on my actual specifics. Okay. So I knew that Edward Norton was going to, the first time I watched it, similar to when I watched Inglourious Basterds the other day, and I was like, I really was able to actually give Brad Pitt more attention because Christoph Waltz just like steals my memories from that movie. But this past time I was like, Brad Pitt's story, that was the story that I remember the most. And this one I was like, I know that Edward Norton's going to be amazing and impressive. And so I'm like, this is Richard Gere's movie. I'm going to give Richard Gere the time. I love Laura Linney. Let's give her the time. And I think honestly, it's just, I don't know what it is, but what I was most impressed this time is how smart their choices are. What I mean by that is whenever we watch these things now, we always question everything. So Presumed Innocent, for instance, with Jake Gyllenhaal came out and it was weekly. And so people just ask all these questions and people, just talk, you just guess and talk, and they say, oh, well, that really happened. Would he really do that? Would she really do that? Well, maybe he did that because of this. All these hypothetical things. In this movie, there are a ton of them. I'll just say one, why wasn't there a character witness for Aaron? How come there's not a single person who says, oh, no, he's actually not like that in real life? Or maybe he was, or maybe they said, oh, he's actually like this all the time. So then Roy was literally doing an act. They never even talk about that, never mention it. Do you really think about that during the movie? No, of course you don't think about it during the movie because it was smart. They probably thought about it. The writers probably thought about it. Laura Linney sounds like she's saying scripted lines. It sounds like a trope, but it's not. How did they figure that out? That's really smart. Her first 2 scenes, she doesn't say a single line that seems authentic. Every single thing seems like a line that a lot of characters could say, but put them together with her, they seem so authentic. I can't describe it any other way. And so I was most impressed by I feel like if they added more details or subtracted more details, the movie wouldn't be as good. It's as good as it could have been. That's what I think about this rewatch from Primal Fear.
Yeah.
I don't think we can.
That's the thing. You can say a line or you can deliver a line.
For sure.
These guys are, all of them are definitely deliverers.
Which is again, going back, and maybe I'm not going to frame my entire conversation with you guys through this lens, but what those studios and movie makers and of course the director, let's give him his due. Say his name again. Gregory Hoblit. Gregory Hoblit.
And I was such a dick.
Nailed it.
And I was such a dick about the writers. The writers were Steve Shagan and Ann Biderman, and the novel was written by William Diehl, and Edward Norton knew the novel, which is why he auditioned for this role under a pseudonym so that he would be taken seriously, etc.
Yeah, and we'll tell that story very quickly. But with Gary Hoblit and I would imagine the studio. So I'm trying to not just give Gregory credit here because I don't know what his contract was. There's a very good chance he didn't have a final say on who was cast. So trying to give credit to him and the studio back then, again, there was more of that system going on. There were big people behind this. What they fucking nailed, I think the most amazing aspect of this film is the casting. The performances are of course it's star-studded. You watch a movie like this now today and you're like, oh my God, there's so many fucking stars there. They don't make movies like that in the same way that they did back then, where you really did try to shove a lot of faces in there that were going to be familiar, especially for like these kind of genre flicks where you wanted people to come in because they recognize the faces and the story is familiar.
I mean, were all of these
like
people stars at that point? Because Gere was the only one, wasn't he?
Yeah, none of them were huge except for him.
Yeah.
And obviously like Edward Norton and stuff. But I mean, I feel like Richard Gere.
Edward Gere, just put them together.
When you, and I do this a lot when I'm listening to movies, when I'm watching movies, when you think about the words coming out of his mouth being written on a page, this could have been cast in the wrong hands of a more surly, jaded, like edgy defense attorney. He curses all the time. He has low opinions of everybody. He's like a pseudo moralist that you get to, and eventually I really want to talk about that in a little bit. And they said Richard Gere, and who knows if Richard? I don't know the stories. Maybe he fucking fought for it and he was right. But casting someone like him in this part created an atmosphere where you were able to fill it in with these supporting roles that were going to play off of somebody like him and not some surly, intense, jaded, cynical asshole of a defense attorney that happened to be wrong this time. It totally changes when you see somebody who you want to believe. You desperately want to believe him. And I just felt like it was just, the more I see this movie, the more like this is the performance of his career for me. Like it is my favorite performance of Richard Gere's. He never gets to play parts like this.
Also, we're treading dangerously on spoilers, so I'm just going to turn that on so that we don't.
All right, that's it. Is this his JFK, like for Kevin Costner?
But yeah, so we're going to go into spoilers.
Maybe,
if you haven't seen this movie by some strange twist of fate, watch it before you listen to the rest of this.
Yeah.
All right, let's tell the Ed Norton story. So, Jeff, you tell the version you know, and I'm going to tell the another version of the same story that's just from somebody else's perspective who was friends with the casting director.
And then I'll make some shit up.
We both know.
Well, one of his acting teachers who we both worked with, I worked with Terry Schreiber later, who would become Edward Norton's. He wrote the foreword to Terry's book and gave Terry a lot of credit. But working at the studio was this other teacher that we worked at named Mary. And she said that they really wanted an unknown person for this role. And they wanted somebody who's from the South. They wanted the accent to be authentic. They didn't want an actor. Or they wanted an actor who was, maybe they wanted like the best theater actor who never left Kentucky or something. It was sort of an unrealistic goal for them to like cast out of New York and LA. So Edward Norton, who was doing a lot of theater at the time, and I feel like this is dead in New York and it makes me sad every day, but he was always in a show somewhere, and the show probably didn't suck as bad as a lot of the off-Broadway theater that I see. No disrespect. There's a lot of bad theater out there, and it's hard. It's just too bad. But he was in stuff all the fucking time for about 4 years after he graduated from Yale. And at least one, I believe he had 2 different agents. Maybe he was submitted under his real name and they said he's a great actor and he's done all these things, and he did not get an audition. And so supposedly he has like another agent that he's freelancing with, or maybe it was the same one, who sent a fake resume with a fake name. And somehow Edward convinced them, and he prepped this with his acting teachers, I believe Mary is one of them, to be able to go in as essentially somebody close to Aaron. Like to go in the room and read as Aaron, not as Edward Norton, the brilliant Yale historian, son of an academic. And they couldn't believe they found this person until literally he was cast, and then they needed to draw up the contracts, and then they said, no, you got the name wrong. His name's actually Edward Norton. That's the story. He literally went in with a fake name, fake resume, fake everything, and then they cast him, and it wasn't until they literally were giving him the contract that they realized he was actually an actor.
And obviously, folks, like another way of thinking of that is that, and there's some taboo and disagreement about whether or not you should do this. Now everything's fucking videotapes now. But back in the day, we used to go into the room. I mostly went in 2 rooms when I was still auditioning in New York in the late 2000s, in the aughts, in the early 10s. The ethical taboo divide was: do you go in character or not? Right. Do you give them a chance where you say, hi, nice to meet you, thanks for having me, and I'm John? Or do you go in as this persona that you want to evoke, that side of yourself that you want to bring out in the character. And he did it, and he got cast. So I'll tell the other little perspective on that. I just always thought this was really fascinating, just because everyone who ever saw anything about his performance in his audition acknowledged, like, whoa, a star is born. So his current age, I think I can say that because I was told this story by his agent, Brian Swartstrom, years ago. And Brian told me that when he was up and coming, not really anybody, he was friends with, I'm going to get her name wrong. Let me try to get her name correct. The casting director for this movie, which was Jane Shannon Smith. I think it was her. It may have also been Deborah Aquila. I think they worked together at the time in the same office. Brian was friends with one of them. And he said he was hanging out with her, and he was based out of New York, but he flew to LA. And they had been searching for this role for months. You know, the classic story. They couldn't find the right person, blah, blah, blah. And this was back in the day where casting directors would read with somebody in the room and tape them at the same time so that they could just take their tape home and study it, get their list together, give their top list to directors, producers, what have you. So he was going to hang out with his friend in one of these women, Deborah or Jane. And they had just... she was like, I'm sorry, I can't hang out tonight. I just got a shitload of tapes in from New York for this audition that it's like we're weeks into this, and like we still haven't found somebody. I have to stay up and I have to watch all these fucking tapes. And he was like, well, I'll watch them with you. I don't care. What's it for? So she tells him a little bit about the project, and they sit down and they start watching these tapes, and they get to his, and they both like press pause afterwards, and they're like, who is that? And she immediately like just pulls that tape out, calls her boss, calls the director, like tells everyone, like, I'm not sending you more than I found the tape. I found the guy. And Brian Swartstrom, like, apparently sought him out thinking he was Aaron, thinking he was like that guy. And then all the shit went down, got to the contract, got signed. Apparently, he found out like what had actually happened, and he immediately signed him, and it's been with him like for his entire career. But isn't that crazy? Like, even from the beginning, these agents and these people who are, some people can say what you want about them, but they were just hanging out together one night. She had to do her job, and they both saw what I think the test scene was, the scene when he turns. So it's when Gere comes in.
You have to
it's when Gere comes in and he's doing the, come on, you fucking lie. You fucking killed him, didn't you? And he's like, and then he flips. And my God, anyone who has seen this movie, it's hard to, you want to talk about other things because we're on a film podcast, but it's kind of hard to talk about anything other than Ed Norton's performance in this movie. Because the
power shift in that scene is palpable. Like they literally, the guy who is always on, always ahead of the game and always on the front step suddenly gets pushed to the back, and he's not driving the scene anymore. And
but you know what I love about the way it's filmed? All right, let's get back to Gere. Let's not, even in that scene where Ed Norton steals the movie, the filmmaking stays wide on Norton, except for when they're in their tight close-ups, when they're going back and forth. For the rest of that scene, it stays tight on Gere and stays a little wider in like mediums on Norton, so that you're allowed to observe him the way Gere is, because Gere's wheels are turning, and you see it turn. He's like fucking like, he's elated. He's intrigued. He's like, oh my God, this is it. And this, I kind of want to bring this back now, if you guys want to start talking a little bit more big picture about themes, because the pseudo-moralist is something that also really hit me at that time. First of all, shout out to Joey's director from Friends, Time to Act, my talking props, who plays the journalist who's interviewing Gere the whole time in this movie, right?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for eating my mother's crab cakes. You ruined my life. That guy from the Friends episode where Joey's in the play. When he goes back and has that one last scene with Gere, and Gere's wasted because he thinks he's down the chute. And he's like, ask me the question you want to fucking ask me. Ask me that fucking question. Why do I do it when I know they're scumbags? Why do I fucking do it? Why defense attorneys do it?
Yeah,
and he gives him, he deflects with a few jokes. And then he finally says, because I believe that all people, or most people, are inherently good. most of the time, and that good people sometimes do bad things. This hit me really hard this time because the first time I saw this movie, the ending was not entirely satisfactory to me. And I'm talking about literally the end. After he walks out and the way it ends with him just standing out in front of the courthouse. You know, he dodges like a protest and it goes to him and he's kind of
not a protest.
just like,
it's just them trying to interview him.
Yeah.
There are signs, but it was just people trying to interview him.
So here's my big takeaway this time. And I would like to hear you guys just talk a little bit about the themes with this for me. I think this time, in that scene at the bar, he wanted to believe that. And that's the story he's told himself. And I think what happened when he actually realizes Ed Norton swindled him is he knows he believes it. And he's heartbroken. I think that's the first time in his entire fucking life and career that it had actually been tested because he found himself believing in that young man.
Well, yeah, I mean, that character has a belief system that's allowed him to do what he did for his entire career, and then suddenly it gets shattered by this one moment.
No, but I'm saying I don't think he actually believed it up until that point. I think that was just the story he told himself, which is why he was able to. I think he was lying to himself until he found himself actually believing in Ed Norton's character this time. I don't think
he also he got because he kept looking into people's eyes to try to see if they were telling the truth or not. He does it to the other guy in the video, but so he kind of got. It might be a little simple like that too, where he was sitting there. He's like, I can
see that.
I thought I could read people. I thought I knew everything about. But he was reading Laura Linney. He's like, I know everything you want. He read everybody. He won the case, but he actually got outplayed by his own person. Maybe it was just.
All right. Well, then
the ending plays differently for me too. In that his entire career, he was always facing the media, and he was a media chaser. They even refer to him as like chasing the cameras at one point. And after he gets got, his confidence is so shattered, he walks to the front door and there's press out there, and he sneaks out the back door instead of facing him. That's the shot that cuts black.
It's hard to talk to the press after you realize.
Yeah, but that is character development right up until the last shot.
Which is
his arc finishes
brilliant
in the last shot of the film.
I feel like his currency in life is truth and lies. Like the money, I do believe him when he was in that bar scene and he said it's the money. The money's nice, but it's not the money. I do believe that's a perk, but it's not really what gets him up in the morning. And the joke he says next, I never go to Vegas. You go to Vegas? I never go to Vegas because why gamble with money when you can gamble with people's lives?
Yeah. Great, a lot of good lines, 90s lines,
that kind
so
of
many good lines.
But I do think that I do think that lies and truth were the currency that he really enjoyed dealing with up until that moment. And I'm not saying I disagree with you, but it might be a little reductive to just say he got because I feel like he was very comfortably honest at the beginning part of those interviews in like the first scene of the movie, when he's saying, my job is not to care if they did it or not. That's not the point.
Yeah.
The point is for me to just represent them as well as I can because fuck this system.
But my point is he didn't even know who he was representing. And that's what bummed him out. He thinks he believes that it's not about who I'm representing. It's about I need to do my job. But he didn't even realize who he was representing. So the whole thing, like he played his part really well, but he was being played the whole time too. So I feel like the whole thing kind of burned down on him a little bit. He still believes it, but I think he also, because he says, I think the thing is exceptions. He was like, most people are good, and sometimes they do bad things. There's no definitives, right? So in this case, somebody beat the system, and he was actually the puppet in the pawn in there, and he's used to being the puppeteer. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he was the monkey in the circus.
He had sort of a scaled down God complex, where he was just going from win to win. He was out there doing it for himself. He thought his morals were beyond reproach because
he's listed as a bad boy, even though I don't think he was that bad in this, but he's listed as a bad boy in the book and then the movie. So you're right. There's no right or wrong here. This is what's fun about this. We could just talk about this.
And there's no right or wrong, but just I'm trying to put myself in the mind of the performance of Richard Gere, because to play what you guys are saying, and we're all saying the same thing. I think he really does have to find himself emotionally motivated by this case in a unique way. So it's not just intellectually, you're not who I thought you were, and therefore I'm not who I thought I am. Like that's,
Right.
how does he get emotionally involved? I feel like to really be a good defense lawyer in his initial perspective, and I'm not saying all defense lawyers, but the way he presented himself in that initial interview is that it's literally my job to try to poke holes in what we say is the justice system. I don't believe in that shit. I think there's so many problems with it that it's really who can create enough problems for the other side, and that's what justice is. I tell you what justice is the story I create. I feel like for this time, which is why I think his performance is so unique, is that very slowly, because he literally says, I believe him a few times to like his associates. Like he literally has to say that a few times. But somehow by the end of that certainly by the second act, but when he finds out about the sex tapes and everything, and he's so upset and he goes and has that scene with Ed Norton, you really do see him kind of crumbling because he doesn't know what it feels like to actually have any emotional stake in his cases. I don't think he's ever believed in anyone. And that's why I think this is why it works, because it's not just a game to him, and he's not just trying to outsmart like the other side and what's happening to him. I think for some reason, which is why I can't quite put my finger on it every time I watch this, is it just because he likes him? But for some reason, he finds himself actually believing that there is a form of justice associated with this case, and it is to save that kid's life. And I don't know, and I feel like that's what's different about this versus I'm sure he's done similar cases before, where
that's the thing.
He discredits the other side and gets somebody acquitted or off for a mistrial.
He's taking on a case that there's a lot of evidence, so it's a hard case, and I feel like he's externalizing his self-worth in his wins, in the people he helps. If he helps them, he's a better person, and then the fact that he's might not be able to help this kid because this kid hasn't been straight with him is starting to crack that facade a little bit, and his self-worth crumbles a touch.
Do you think that there's and again, this might be a little too intellectual, I don't know if you could play this, but do you think there's a side of him that through exactly what you're saying, his dilemma and his obstacles of being able to do his job correctly actually made him start to care? The more that he realized my client isn't allowing me to do my fucked up job well, the more I am starting to become invested in this person. I wonder if
because he was he self-proclaimed losing the case, and so therefore he actually had to like be a good lawyer. He had to go back to the book a little bit or something.
Yeah, well, maybe there was a little bit of vulnerability there because he knew he was losing it all the way up until that final scene. He was losing that fucking case until he snapped in front of Laura Linney, right?
In fact, he basically had to tug on personal connections for that. He wasn't taking advantage of them. I feel like they actually like cost him a little bit to go after Laura Linney like that, and
for sure. Here's another story element that I think raises the bar on what these kind of genre, these kind of detective-y lawyer kind of stories. You got to have a fucking sexy deflection C-line story. So I would say the B-line story of this from our lead character. Well, you guys tell me. The political issue with Fraser's father, the guy who plays the DA, the state attorney in this one. What the fuck is his name?
Fraser, John Mahoney.
That storyline, I think, gives so much juice to confusing Richard Gere when he finds himself not winning. He starts kind of scrambling and trying to find motivation to discredit the other side, basically. What is going to make people feel like there's so much other motive here that you can't just blame this one kid who has nothing to do with these giant high-stakes things. That scene where he takes John Mahoney to fucking school, when he puts him on the witness stand after Mahoney has his fucking mob guy killed, is fucking awesome. The performance in that scene is so strong. And I guess it's not just that it's strong and it's badass and he gets to say, that's for what's his name, you son of a bitch. Like that's fun and cathartic and you get to feel that. But it's what it does, again, to Gere that is so interesting. He's almost like, he's so desperate And he's also like bound emotionally to these people that he's been helping that you're supposed to be judging. We're not supposed to be on his side the whole time. They have an anti-hero in the driver's seat for this entire fucking movie that we eventually see get bamboozled. But for the most part, you kind of don't want to like him, even though he's so charming. Are you feeling anything with that? Like that side story raise the stakes at all for his scramble for you?
I feel like you like. I did want to like him, and I did like him. So when he misbehaved, it was kind of cool. It was like the rogue element there, and I'm trying to think how to phrase it. Like when he did that scene, it was like, yeah, he nailed that guy. But the fun part on the rewatch is you already know that has absolutely nothing to do with this case,
right? It's a great deflection.
That's what even makes it even better. It's like they put the ball under a cup and they're just shifting it around. If on a first watch you don't know, like, is this the thing? This must be the thing. Like this is, and he's got to be involved in that. No, he's not involved in that, and then it moves on. But there's so much misdirection in there.
And God, Dave, you're so right. It's like maybe the book is different, but it's like a rule they gave themselves as screenwriters and then directors was that you kept waiting for like the jury to somehow, like their opinions never matter in this. They don't even point the camera at them.
Yeah.
So when that happened, there's a little bit of you, at least every time I see it, when that scene happens, there's a little bit of me that always wonders, like, is he not going to wait to see if that lands? Like the judge says strike his statement from the court record. You're literally not allowed for it to land, but you don't even get to see if the jury is like.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure those motherfuckers
how are you not
were just
interested
extras.
in all this potential motive?
Like, because they don't show them in shots. They do side shots. So I'm sure they weren't there half the time. They were just extras.
This is what I'm saying before. It's smart because maybe they could have gone more. If this was a series, you'd have so much more about that. In fact, if it was a presumed innocent, you might even start to question if that's how it's going to end, if they're going to change the book so that the people who know the book or the original movie could be different. And it's smart the way that you don't even finish this movie thinking, well, what the fuck was he even doing that for? That was a deflection. You don't think that. You just think the stakes are getting higher because it's getting real and it affects people. And it just arcs well. And it's not just a little boy who killed a bad man. There's more to it than that. It's smart. But they didn't say, let's learn more about Aaron. It's like, and we didn't say, who are the other people on there? They didn't go full Chinatown, where we saw 10 people who were benefiting financially from this to exploit. They picked their spots.
It's just, really I just realized talking about this, that is the first time that you kind of get motivated cinematography where they exclude the jury in certain shots. And because up until then, it was like 90s cinematography was very functional. They weren't out for art. They were like, tell the story. But this one snuck a few of those in there.
I mean, that scene especially, but there are multiple times where he doing the defense attorney thing that we've seen before. Again, playing with these tropes, but really transcending them to making it something more important. There's shots where he's like leaning on the jury stand, right? And he's like, come on, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? And you never see a fucking reverse.
Nope.
It doesn't matter what they think of him. They never let you have that opinion.
Because it doesn't matter to him.
It's just their world. It's the game that is happening between the state or the city in this instance, the state and the city, and the defense lawyer. It's just that game. All right, one other thing I thought that was worth bringing up, just because again, in 90s cinema, chase scenes happen and you just kind of went with it. You're like, yeah, sure, we're in a genre piece. This was like, I saw Richard Gere running around in like $3,000 Gucci shoes. Like, it was very clear to me. I was like, dude, they do not have cops on their side, do they? It's him and his investigator fucking tracking down that homeless kid, running around through fucking Chicago. There was a little bit of me that was like, there's probably a kernel of truth there. Like, they don't have the authorities on their side to get official records and to get people tracked down and to get detectives assigned to this case.
Not if you're a defense attorney, no.
Well, and in Chicago, in a huge city, you can't just call on favors to like have stakeouts for people, and you can't say why. I bought that first. I bought that. You can't say anything. I actually love, by the way, Andre Braugher going on the stand and just like confessing that, they gave him the tape, basically saying, we wanted this tape to be part of the trial, and we got it. Strangely, like, of course, we didn't want to present it. It was I thought that was really fun.
And I'm going to give it up to the director again for this one, because supporting performances like Andre's there are so many edited moments where you see like what Richard Gere's associates are thinking, and Andre is one of them. And what's her name is the other one? What's her name from Mom and Liar Liar, and Maura Tierney, right? Isn't that her name? That's her name, right?
I think so.
Am I fucking that up?
Maura Tierney's in this movie?
Isn't she his assistant? Yeah. Yeah. So people, when they're in their office and Andre and Maura Tierney are there are so many moments where I was imagining cutting this movie together. And I'm thinking, you got your fucking protagonist, you got his assistants. These assistants don't need to have the camera or to get that, but clearly they covered them. The way that they there's an amount of realism in their reactions to him so that, again, it goes beyond that genre thing. He's telling you everything you need to know because that's how these scripts work. He's saying the words you need to know to move to the next scene. Their reactions are what make it feel fucking real. Every time he was in a scene with them, and every time Andre was in a scene, they cut to him so much, and so often he's not saying anything. He's just responding to in listening. And sometimes there's a little bit of like, that's bullshit, Richard, kind of thing. Sometimes there's just a wonderful comedic, like theatrical sense to it that kind of makes it feel like these people know each other so fucking well. That was just an authentic moment in a relationship, and they chose to keep it in the edit, which made it feel more real. It made it more than just a genre piece.
If arrogance isn't observed, then he's just an asshole. Because they're observing and sharing looks and killing him out a little. Like when he gets off from the bar where he's hammered and he has a bottle of whiskey sitting there and he just drops 3 singles on the bar. I'm like, $3 for a bottle of whiskey? That's not a tip, you asshole.
Yeah, what a piece of shit.
Yeah. If we were editing this movie, Dave, that would have been on the whiteboard the whole time. That would have been a good rule, right?
Yeah.
Like, let's remember, we have to cut away from him.
Let's remember, he's a bad tipper.
It's really, really, really good, you guys. That is just, it's just really, I'm so shocked every time I watch this, how much it transcends its genre.
Yeah.
Which is what you want from these kinds of movies.
One of the things I loved the most was the montage leading into the opening of the trial where the speech is going over the top of it.
The voiceovers. Their opening statements.
What a great way to get like 6 things in rapid succession. You're into the business of the trial.
They passed them. I mean, they did it when they got Edward Norton on the stand, where you saw Richard Gere doing basically a B-roll of him being like kind of sad, being like, I don't know what else to do. And next thing you know, Edward Norton's on the stand. Whereas, in real world, they'd be like arguing, like, we shouldn't put him on the stand. They should prep him for the stand. They should do all.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like all like out of nowhere, they do a B-roll and he's on the stand. I mean, that's really, really smart the way they do it.
Jeff, you've already kind of been talking at it. And I just want to agree with you, like, wholeheartedly, because of everything I've been saying of the genre and the 90s thing. There was a piece of me that could now, we've gone so far away from this kind of movie making, and we live in these miniseries or extended series kind of storytelling cultures all the time now. It's our language now, visual storytelling, writing, you name it. When we turn on a TV, that's kind of what we're expecting. That it made me for a second a little scared that people are not going to want to see this kind of storytelling anymore unless they really challenge themselves to start watching older movies and ask, like, what was the magic about that kind of storytelling? And you just hit, that's the magic of it, is that you don't need to have a whole episode dedicated to whether or not we should put him on the fucking stand for a movie to work. Now, for a for a miniseries, you may have needed that episode. But for a movie, it's a different, there are so many different recipes and ingredients that are required to make 2 hours work really well. And I found that, could not agree with you more, both of what you guys just said. The way we get into the opening statements to the start of the trial and the way we get into the last scene of the trial.
Yeah.
A miniseries would have taken 2 or 3 episodes to build up to each of those things.
Have you seen docuseries? Some of these 10-episode docuseries of a trial, and it's like, at a certain point, all the recesses and all the time, it's just like, it's awful. It's so awful. We got to speed these things up. We have to. I mean, what if I saw Hamilton, but I actually had to watch every single letter he wrote? Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like, speed it up, people.
It's like the first rule of movies. Why are you showing them that?
Yes.
Yeah, they did a great job.
And how do we subvert those expectations?
Yeah.
If it's something that they think they know what we're going to see next with these genre
I'm going to go
pieces.
back to, I don't know how they get these lines. I mean, you want justice, go to a whorehouse. You want to get fucked, go to court. And they do it in a way that sounds like 2 people at the poker table. Like, hey, my uncle's a lawyer. You know what he tells me?
Absolutely the mentality in the 90s.
Yeah, he nailed it. It was a one-night stand, Marty. It just lasted 6 months.
That was a
Could be
good
the
one.
cheesiest line in the world, and for some reason in this movie, they just fucking nail it. It's your job to know he has a private library. You want my job? No, I want you to do your goddamn job. That line could be in literally every movie, like right there. It could be in A Few Good Men. It could be in the Departed. I'm the guy who does his job. You must be the other guy. Like you could, I mean, like these lines could be in every movie, but for some reason, the fucking like work that they did to piece this thing together, it makes total sense. And the way Andre Braugher is also really cocky and arrogant, saying that, "Well, you want my job?" And he goes, "No, I want you to do your fucking job." And then Maura Tierney's off to the side. Like it's just pieced together so well that you get these specific.
It's pieced together so well, but Jeff, you and I mean, I taught
and then they figure
class.
out how to pass the time. Yeah.
I taught a whole fucking class around this concept, right? Like you can take this text that I'm not saying it doesn't work, but let's acknowledge what you're saying. This is fairly predictable kinds of language, or maybe even hyperbolic or cliche kind of language.
Yeah.
That argument scene outside the elevator, which is kind of unrealistically an empty hallway at a city courthouse. Like that almost never happens. But the three of them are there and they're fucking screaming at each other, right? After he finds out that I didn't know about that piece of evidence, do your goddamn job. They found that scene that day. The performances were so good, it became more than these kinds of lines that were on the page, which isn't bad writing. It's just very, we've heard it before kind of writing.
Right.
And they made it so grounded in their relationship with each other that the lines were just the lines. It was what you were afraid they were going to do to each other next, which is why it worked. Yeah. And that's another reason why it's so impressive to me when it's more than the genre.
If that scene was in a 2020s movie, the next scene would be in HR.
Yeah. Also, how great is it that in The Crime he chops his fingers off first?
Yeah.
Before he carves them up. That I was like, oh man.
Or how about Dave?
You gotta know you're fucked if your fingers come off first.
How about the way that they chose to film that? You have the fingers getting chopped off. You have the man going.
You just see the knife in the air.
And the knife coming down. But then you cut to a really wide shot of somebody's POV, a mailman, and then you see windows getting blown out.
Who's on the other side of that radio? He's like a mailman. Who's on the other side of that radio?
Who was he telling? It is the best way to do that, though, because like then the audience fills in their own gaps in their mind, so it changes what's happening inside their room, especially later.
Why did it look like those windows were getting blown out? Like there was an IED
that's
on the
kind of
inside.
what I'm saying. Like there's something a little over the top about it, but it felt so fucking grounded that I didn't question it.
I know.
The father's not really known for getting on the treadmill, so he's going to take out a window if you're struggling.
But I didn't see it. But I didn't see an arm. If I filmed that, it would have been like clearly young Jeff filmmaker put like TNT next to a window and said it would be really cool if we blew this window up right now. Like the way they did. There's no arm. There's no projectile. The window just fucking explodes.
Yeah.
It's
what happens when you elbow a window through a curtain?
I guess Dave, so. Sure, Jay. There's your justification. Is that somebody in the room was like, what if you elbow a window through a curtain? And they're like, there you go. You just earned your 6-figure salary. Let's go. Let's make it happen. Let's film it and put a shot list together. Oh my God.
Last section, because I do just want to, you made a comment about it earlier, Dave, and we usually do have a little bit of a technical conversation. And some of this may have seemed like pretty straightforward, maybe unremarkable in terms of making like really grabbing your eye cinematography kind of choices. But what did you think technically about the way they shot it? So much of this is on location.
Yes.
And there's also some really classic scenes that, of course, are shot in sets where they have total control, like the courtroom. That scene where they confront the other boy in the homeless area, like that was definitely done on a stage. But there's a lot of Chicago that is shown, whether it's second unit or just some really great establishing and wider shots of stuff before they move in closer. And just talk a little bit about that. Like this period of time where things were maybe a little unremarkable, but my God, they were fucking consistent. It looked like a fucking movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, like, why? Why does it look that? Why did 90s movies look like that?
It just felt like a movie, you know?
Could be the film stock. Like, depending on
part of it?
Yeah, part of it would be the film stock.
Some of it's the way they lit. I think a lot of it is the way they lit, too.
The wides were like just pointing a camera at something
supernatural.
Yeah, you just had to sit there and wait for the right fucking time of day.
supernaturally lit. Generally speaking, though, I feel like most of this movie, there were a few shots I felt like I know where their key is. I see it. Like it's really clear and it is kind of drawing attention to it. But in a lot of times when you're watching it, there's very realistic natural lighting or things are underlit in terms of like the direction of light is not over directed. And I mean, literally like, so that everything is spilling and filling in the exact perfect places. It felt a little underlit or realistically naturally lit all the time. And I think that's something that we are just like, why does everything on fucking Netflix look so shiny and bright and crisp and clean? It's mostly because of that, I think.
Yeah, because they're not filtering their lenses.
Unless it's made in
That's
Korea.
some of it for sure.
They're shooting fucking just bare lens.
Did you notice that the guy who plays Alex, who I believe is the other person in the threesome, was John Basilone in the Pacific miniseries?
Yeah, he has a recognizable face for sure. I think he's in Crimson Tide too, in a small part.
He's also in
He's in
La
that sub.
He's in La Brea.
Maybe I'm wrong.
And,
Music by James Newton Howard. Man brought it. And the cinematography, in case anybody gave a shit, was the great Michael Chapman. Hello, he's filmed Raging Bull. He filmed The Fugitive. He filmed Taxi Driver. He filmed The Last Detail. This guy has been the fuck around.
This is where you put your money, people.
He did
what?
His 296.
What a year!
Movies.
What a year for him!
Wow.
Oh my God.
Because they had so much in fucking common. This and Space Jam.
Oh my God.
How crazy is that resume I just read to you? Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, Primal Fear, and The Fugitive and Space Jam? I'll retire. I'm done.
Yeah.
Like that.
Can you mention he stays in touch with Bob? He's like,
maybe
you
find a
Raging Bull.
Western.
What are you up to next? He goes, Space Jam, starring Michael Jordan and Bugs Bunny.
He's like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that?
This is right after The Fugitive.
Really
It's
fantastic.
right after The Fugitive. All right, people. We should wind the Primal Fear conversation down, fascinating as it is. Great
I had
talking
a lot
about
to
this
say,
amazing
apparently.
movie.
Sorry about that. I love this movie.
We're just asking questions over here. You know, we're just thinking thoughts, asking questions, having a great time talking about fucking
My
Primal
brother
Fear.
recommended this to Matt and Mark, and he recommends the movie to them all the time, and they usually just fucking shit all over the movies he recommends, you know, as they do. They liked this one, apparently. Apparently, they really liked this one.
It's a good movie.
One question I will ask just before we wrap it up. Is it a filmmaking technique that anytime they want you to not like a character, you can loudly hear them chewing or eating?
Probably.
I've noticed that pattern. Like whenever they want you to not respond positive to a character, they show them putting something you can hear them chewing or something.
Who was it in this that it was chewing?
It was fucking what's his name?
It was Mahoney. It was Mahoney Brian at the Chinese restaurant.
Yeah.
Don't fuck with me, Marty. Don't fuck with me.
Yeah.
God, it's good.
And he was
Terry Quinn tells Laura Linney she needs a new job.
I'm starting to notice that pattern.
Definitely helps,
people.
unless it's Brad Pitt in every movie.
Yeah.
All right, people, it is time to move on to our final section, what you've been watching. But first, we got to spin the wheel to let you know what year we're going to be talking about next week. But we'll pick the final movie on our own time so we don't waste yours. And we'll let you know at the very end of this episode. So stick around. Dave, let's spin the wheel. We're going to have some guesses. I'm going to say 2012.
That's a good guess. I was going to land somewhere around there. So I'll go the opposite. 63.
Okay.
Here we go.
Up. 2-0. 0. 9.
Nice.
2009.
All right.
Bounced around up here a lot.
All right, people. We're not going to sit here and Google movies. We're going to do what you've been watching. We'll tell you at the end. Dave.
Yes.
What you've been watching.
Well, let's see. I have watched a plethora of things. So I caught on Valentine's Day. I caught the Gorge.
Oh, you've been looking forward to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, how was it? Remember
On
last week where I
Valentine's
said,
Day,
does anybody want to see that movie?
I fucking loved it. Like, I'm a big fan of Derrickson, as we know. Like, he did Black Phone.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
And so this, what starts off as a romance, turns into basically a creature horror film, and there's a story thread that goes through it, and yeah, it's solid film, well worth a look. And Miles Teller and Anya Taylor-Joy are so fucking cute at the beginning of it. Like how they get together with a giant fucking gorge between them.
Oh,
So it's that one.
Is it the gorge equivalent of like phone sex?
Kinda, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Is this out in theaters or is this just Apple TV?
Apple TV.
Plus?
Yeah, sadly only Apple TV.
Do you think
Plus.
they've given up on putting movies in theaters?
Maybe
I think Apple is kind of just looking for their streaming service. And to be honest, I mean, this would have been great in theaters. It's got enough star
How about
power
the
to
F1
sell.
movie? You gonna be mad if it doesn't go to theaters?
No.
it's going to theaters. It has to go to theaters.
Has to, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
John,
I don't think they're looking for that. They're phasing back their like quest for awards, so they don't have to do a theater appearance anymore.
Fucking hell! Oh,
Yeah.
how hard is it to put it out in LA, New York?
And
John,
then-
maybe this is why your agent Brian Swardstrom is leaving UTA 9 years after leaving WME, which is where he was when he got all these people, because he's ready to move on. He doesn't want to do it anymore, even though his
Speaking of
slate
moving on,
includes Timothy Chalamet, Francis McDormand, Damian Lewis, Michael Douglas, John
He's gotta get it
Lithgow,
out.
Foy, Michael C. Hall, etc.
I also saw Longlegs finally.
Did you get scared?
A little bit, yeah. There's a couple of good
I
jumpers in
almost-
that one.
I was thinking about
There's
it.
the picture moment is the
Yeah,
right when she's looking at her pictures. That's a good jump scare.
yeah. There's a couple of good ones in there. And the story is fairly solid. I didn't mind it. I liked.
How did you
Where it
feel when
went?
it went full fucking devil though? Like when it went full fucking.
By that time,
this is about, like,
by
the
that time
devil.
I was in it. It didn't jump the shark on that one for me.
Alright.
They'd set up enough of what the fuck is going on that was a short jump to take. And then just for fun, I watched Dark City. That is, yeah,
Looking it up.
it's like fantasy sci-fi, ridiculously sci-fi.
1998.
Mm-hmm.
Jennifer Connelly. That
Yeah.
Dark City.
Yep.
Nice.
And then
Connolly's half Jewish.
7.6.
it's an interesting story. Like it's not going to win 100% of the awards, but it is an interesting story to look at for when it was made.
Very interesting.
With a decent twist. And then just I had a couple hours to kill before we did the show, so I put on Hot Tub Time Machine 2. Just to revisit the
Nice.
classics.
Why not? You have
Very
to.
funny.
I can't really recommend
Dave is
Hot Tub
home
Time
alone.
Machine
His
2.
wife is out of town, folks.
Yeah.
That's
I
what
can't
I'm-
really recommend 2. Hot Tub Time Machine is fantastic and, in my opinion, is a brilliant time travel movie, but this one,
That is a good movie.
yeah, this one,
Therese gone on Valentine's Day?
no, day after.
John?
We finished Dark Matter. Enjoyed it. That
Mhm.
series I was talking about last.
All the darks.
season.
Dark City, Dark Matter.
Yeah. So Jennifer Connelly, Joel Edgerton. Good Apple TV Plus sci-fi thing if you're interested. And we immediately returned to The Americans. We are ongoing, and God, that show's good.
Yeah.
And The Pit, all caught up on that, and still really enjoying it. So I don't know how many episodes there are going to be this season, but that show's good. How about you?
Okay, I didn't watch a lot because I had I worked these intensives all weekend, so there goes my weekend. We watched though, and it sort of started as like a casual thing, and we couldn't stop watching this true docuseries. This is the relationship I'm in about Gypsy Rose Blanchard, who was a Munchausen's by proxy victim from her mom, who was so controlling. Handcuffed her to her bed so that she wouldn't leave, date anybody, lied about her age, her teeth is terrible, lied about her having cancer, and we're giving it was awful. Had a wheelchair even though she could walk. Anyway, let's just say she might have helped coordinate her mother's murder and then is in prison, but may or may not be getting out of prison by the end of the series. So we watched that docuseries. It's set in Louisiana too. So I sent Casey Barrett a message and I said I heard of some gnarly Louisiana accents while watching the series. And then The White Lotus is back and I watched the first episode and I'm very interested. It's different, but very similar at the same time. Very interested. Who did it? Who murdered? Who dies? Who's getting naked? Can't wait to find out. It's gonna be
I'm
great.
so excited. Haven't watched it yet. I'm so excited.
It's gonna be fun. There you go. All right, so let's do it.
All right,
Let's
good
take our break
times.
and then we're gonna announce
Yeah,
our
let's
movie.
take a
Let's
break.
go. 2009.
9.
And we're back.
Who's on
And we're
first?
back.
All right, very excited about this movie. I never saw this movie before.
Me either.
Never seen it before.
It's a
3,
Oh
no
for
C.
3?
Oh, good. Yeah.
And it's available to stream on Prime Video right now if you have your subscriptions up. So keep your subs up to date, people, and join us next week.
if we're lucky, it's one of the ones they forgot to put ads in.
But we talk about Mr. Nobody. A little sci-fi
Seems
drama
likely.
romance starring Jared Leto et al. Anything else you two knuckleheads want to say before we send the people on their way?
Send them on their way.
I said way too much.
Okay. Well, see you next week, film
John
fans.
lost 3 pounds during this episode.
Primal Fear, you guys. Takes it out of me.